Hi, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for joining me. I'm just going to double check and make sure that everything's streaming the way that it's supposed to. That looks good. Um, and thank you. Some people have contacted me to say that they couldn't be here tonight, but they're going to watch the replay, and I'll have it posted on my website as well. Probably tomorrow, uh, uh, probably tomorrow evening. I'll have it set up there. So yeah, so thanks for joining me, and I know there'll be people who'll be joining me later or watching this later. And so tonight I want to share with you how to conquer overwhelm with a really simple but powerful success principle. And be sure to stick around to the end because I've got some bonuses, some freebies actually, that I want to share with you and some other information as well. So make sure you stick around to the end. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, in addition to being a stress and body mind health expert, I'm also a certified Canfield success trainer. And so I trained with Jack Canfield. You may know him. He's a multiple New York Times best-selling co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And he also is a New York Times best-selling co-author of another book called The Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And so one of my favorite success principles is one I want to share with you tonight is success principle number 8, and it's called chunk it down. So it has a funny name, but I'll share more about that later on. And I love this success principle, chunk it down, because it's such a wonderful and simple way to overcome overwhelm. And, even though COVID-19 is easing up in a lot of places in the world, everybody is still overwhelmed. Are you finding anything, what are you finding is overwhelming you right now in your business or your work, maybe in your life? For me, I know it just seems like that things that used to be so easy, like going to the grocery store or, meeting friends at a restaurant or, going to the movies or getting your hair cut. I'm getting mine cut at the end of the week after a few months. It just seems that everything that used to be easy now requires, PPE, personal protective equipment, and hand sanitizer and social distancing and, in some cases, you can't even go to the theaters. I know in Canada you can't. I think there's some places in the US where it's opened up, but just everything that used to be easy just isn't easy anymore. And work life has completely changed. Oh my gosh, with many people working from home and just having a totally different work, setup physically if you're still going into the office. And if you've got kids, well, homeschooling is what many people are having to do and will be having to do for the next several months until schools open again. I know in some places schools are starting to open. And then, and for lots of people, that also means, juggling working from home with making sure your kids are getting their schoolwork done. And if you're an entrepreneur, the way that you do business probably has changed. Well, it's changed significantly, I know, for a lot of people. And then, you pile on top of that, like fear that many people still have about even just leaving their homes to, run errands or if they have to go into their workplace, let alone the global financial instability, it's completely natural to feel overwhelmed. Okay. So you've probably heard, by the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Well, it's the same with stress. By the time you're feeling overwhelmed, that means that you've been experiencing high levels of stress for a prolonged period of time with no rest or break, or maybe even like low or medium stress, but over a prolonged period of time with no break. And so that means that you're full on stress mode, which is also known as your fight or flight mode. You've probably heard it called that as well. And so what that means is that when you're in fight or flight mode, that means that your brain goes into survival mode. And survival mode is the complete opposite to creativity and intellectual and, positive decision-making mode. And physiologically, there's a lot of changes that happen in the brain as well. And I talked about this last week. The key part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, it's responsible for learning and retaining new information. It's responsible for coming up with creative solutions. It's responsible for making decisions. And so, as I mentioned last week, and I've mentioned a lot of times before, when you're in fight or flight mode, when you're stressed out, you can lose up to 70% blood flow to that key part of the brain. And, I've talked about that a lot in my emotional freedom techniques, my EFT tapping videos, and other content on my website as well on drjenniferharrison.com. And and the other thing is that, like, by the time you're feeling overwhelmed, you also already have high levels of cortisol that have been circulating through your body for probably quite a long time. And as I've mentioned before, cortisol in the short term can have healthy benefits, but in the long term, chronic stress, it's not healthy at all. It promotes chronic inflammation. It can inhibit your immune system. And the other thing too that cortisol does is it actually impairs your brain's ability to function properly. So in other words, it's really difficult to learn and retain new information. It's really difficult to come up with creative solutions in problem solving. And it's really difficult to make good decisions, like any decision actually, let alone a good one. And so that applies to, if you're learning information, coming up with creative solutions or decision making for your business or for your personal life as well. And um, the other thing too is that uh, because you've got all this going on, it's and you get overwhelmed. And so, how are you going to be able to complete your goals and tasks, even just daily tasks, and get them done? Now, if you're familiar with my work and with my online courses, you know that I talk a lot about meditation. I talk a lot about EFT, tapping, emotional freedom techniques. And that's because there's a ton of quality research that shows how effective these techniques are. They're very effective self-care tools. And they're effective in lowering stress and anxiety, and overwhelm, and dealing with overwhelm. And so I'm also a certified EFT practitioner. And so I've had some really amazing results applying EFT myself, but also really amazing results working with my clients too. Now, the thing is, though, if you're going to really overcome and conquer overwhelm, you also, in addition to self-care stress management tools, you also need strategies and tools to help prevent you from getting overwhelmed in the first place. Okay. And oh, hi, Nancy. Thanks for joining. That's great. Yes. Yep. Yeah, we can all appreciate that. What happens to our brains when we get stressed out. Now, I don't know about you, but when I started this at the start of the year, when I had created my goals for 2020, I knew the world was fragile. It was fragile politically and economically, but I mean, I had no idea that we were going to be going through a global pandemic that would turn everyone's world upside down, mine included. So the stress and fear and anxiety levels were already high before COVID-19 came along. And so, but all of that, the stress and the anxiety, the overwhelm, all of that has escalated and has just jumped exponentially, creating a lot of overwhelm. And so that's why, in addition to like meditation and EFT, it's really important to apply the success principle, chunking it down. And it's great to be doing it every day, actually. It's a wonderful way to do that. So, okay. So, yeah. So what is the success principle? What is this? Chunk it down. And what does that mean? Well, the success principle is actually summed up beautifully in a quote by American author and humorist Mark Twain. And he's quoted as saying, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started. And the secret of getting started is taking your complex, overwhelming tasks and breaking them down into smaller, manageable tasks, and then just starting on the first one." So essentially, that's what this success principle means, this success principle of chunking it down. And So the thing that's lovely about the success principle is that you can do this to literally you can apply the success principle of chunking it down to literally any task or goal that is overwhelming you right now. So that could be feeling overwhelmed, cleaning up and reorganizing your home office. That could be feeling overwhelmed by, learning how to use your social media in a new way, like doing, Facebook Live or, Instagram TV. It could involve feeling overwhelmed with transitioning your business from more of a brick and mortar or in-person business to serving your customers and clients online. It could involve feeling overwhelmed going to the grocery store. I know a lot of people are still feeling overwhelmed going out and doing errands. So literally to anything that you're finding that you're feeling overwhelmed about right now, you can apply the chunk it down success principle. Good. Okay. So now, when you're chunking down your overwhelming task or goal, I recommend using a pen and paper, like just physically writing it down, because when you physically write stuff down, it actually activates a part of the brain that's tied in with creativity. And that part of the brain actually doesn't get activated as much when you're typing on a computer. So, I mean, do what's comfortable for you, but I always like to let people know that sometimes doing it old school is actually better. And especially too in doing applying the success principle and going through this exercise, it's actually better to be using a pen and paper with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take you through an exercise to show you how to apply the chunk it down success principle to a task or a goal that you may have that you may find overwhelming right now. And then we'll break that task or goal down into task categories. And then we'll take those task categories and break them down further into small manageable tasks. And then we're going to take action. So let's use the example. Let's just use the example of going to the grocery store. I've actually, over the last couple of weeks, I've actually talked to quite a few people who are still feeling really overwhelmed about going to the grocery store. So again, it's like what I talked about at the beginning. What used to seem just really easy has now become an overwhelming task to do. So let's use this example. So in applying the success principle of chunking it down, um, what you could do first is make a list of all the things that you need to do before you even go to the grocery store. So these would be called task categories. And so just as an example, the first task category could be just, make a list of what you need, make your shopping list. As the second task category could be, knowing what store bonuses or what sales or specials are on right now. A third task category could be like physically and mentally preparing to go to the grocery store. And then the fourth task category could be, actually going and buying your groceries. So those would be considered your main task categories. So then the next step would be once you've figured those out is that you may, not always, but you may need to break those task categories down into smaller manageable tasks. So let's do that. So task category number one was to make a list. Now, I know this sounds like obvious. Of course, you're going to have a grocery, a list before you go to the grocery store. But it's really important to do this in the safety and comfort of your own home while you're not stressed out, while you're not so overwhelmed. Your brain will be functioning better and you'll be less stressed as you're making your list. And it'll make it a lot easier once you actually do physically make it to the grocery store. And what you can do is you can just go through your kitchen cupboards, go through the bathroom and figure out, what you need. Meal planning is really a great thing to do as well. And so if you've already done your meal planning for the week or whatever, then you'll know what ingredients you already have, what ingredients you need. And so you can put those on the list. So those would be the smaller manageable tasks to helping with the task category of making a list. Task category number two that we talked about was looking at store bonuses and sales. So a lot of grocery stores have, rewards point systems. They've got weekly specials. So, you can easily just check, the app on your phone, or you can go online and check what specials are there and just check and see, if it applies to anything that you need. Sometimes things are on sale for things that you might not need, until next month. And so you can decide whether you want to, to buy them ahead of time because they're on sale, or if you want to just pass that. So that would be the steps that you could break down is just, checking your app and or going online and checking to see what bonuses and sales are on. Then the task category number three that we talked about was actually physically and mentally preparing to go to the grocery store. So part of your physical preparation would be making sure that you've got your PPE, making sure that you've got your hand sanitizer, making sure you've got, your grocery bags that you may take with you. And this may be a good time too to decide, what time of day is going to be best for you to go to the grocery store. Because a lot of grocery stores, say between 8 and 9 is designated only for seniors. And so, that may be a time that obviously you're not going to be or you may want to go depending on what your age is, or you may not want to go, or you may want to avoid, going on a Saturday when it's going to be really busy. So that's a decision that you can make when you're overwhelmed, not so overwhelmed, but when you're still at home, you can decide, what time of day or what day of the week you're going to go that's going to, work out best for you. You can also decide which store location you're going to go to as well. If you live in a small community, there may only be one or two grocery stores that you have, that you can choose from. But if you live in the city, there's there may be multiple there's obviously multiple grocery stores, and the chain of grocery stores that you like to go to, there may be different locations. So that's something that you can decide as well. And then and as I said, before you leave the house, make sure you've got all your PPE and all the physical stuff that you need. Now, if you're getting ready to go to the grocery store and you're still feeling overwhelmed, then that would be a time where you could maybe do a quick breathing meditation, or you could do an EFT tapping meditation as well. I've got videos on my website that you can check out. So you could do that even before you leave the house. And then take action and go and get your groceries and complete your task. So do you see what we did here? We took a task that seemed overwhelming, going to the grocery store, and we broke it down into task categories. And then we took those task categories and broke them down into smaller, more manageable tasks, and went through them, one by one. And sometimes it's as simple as going through one by one. Sometimes you may need to look through and decide which one you're going to do first. Good. Okay. That's great. Okay, another example of using the chunk it down success principle may be working through one of your business goals for 2020. Now, normally I like to revisit my goals every quarter, and I really encourage my students and my clients to do the same thing. Now, back at the end of March, I not only had to revisit my goals, but some of them I had to revamp altogether because of this global pandemic. And, and obviously a lot of people had to do that. Pivot has become the new buzzword in terms of quickly changing direction. So is there anything that you've had to change in your business or your work? Yeah, let me know in the comments if there's anything that you've had to make changes with. So I know of a lot of businesses, especially ones that involved in-person, client customer work, have had to switch to doing business online, or they've had to really ramp up the online part of their business. And, again, in applying the chunk it down success principle, if you take one of your business goals, you can break it down into smaller task categories, and then take those task categories and break them down into smaller manageable tasks. And so, by chunking down any goal or task that you're finding overwhelming right now, you've essentially created a master to-do list. And so then it's just a matter of then deciding which, task you're going to start with first. Just as Mark Twain said, take these complex tasks and break them into smaller tasks, and then just take action and pick the one that you need to do. Okay. Great. Just checking comments here. That's good. Okay. So I hope that you'll start using the success principle of chunking it down literally to any and every goal or task that you have. that you may find overwhelming right now. And, by approaching your business and your life this way, it'll help to lower your stress. It'll help you to be more productive. And it'll also help you to conquer overwhelm as well as prevent it. And so it's just a really powerful success strategy, and it's one I really love, and it's one that I use all the time to make things more manageable. So if you found this helpful, this Facebook Live helpful, I'd invite you to go to my website. And in fact, I'd like to take you for a little tour. I know some of you are familiar with my website. Some of you may not be. So I'm just going to do a screen share here. So we're just going to transition things over here a little bit. And we'll add that. And then I just want to double check and make sure that what I'm seeing, you're seeing. So let me just navigate here. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, so this is my website, drjenniferharrison.com. And so I have some bonuses here for you, which I told you about at the beginning. So if you haven't signed up for it already, you can do that. It's 3 proven ways to boost your brain power and relieve stress in 3 minutes or less. Yes, my brain wants this. So feel free to access it if you haven't already. Also, if you're not already a member of our Best Self community, it would be wonderful to have you join us. When you join, you get access to exclusive member-only content, transformational content. So it's tools to help with stress management, stress processing, as well as success principles and success strategies that you can apply for your life and to your business. It's free to join, and you get 5 amazing bonuses when you do. So so if you're interested in learning more about that, you can just click this Join Now button, and that'll take you to a page that will have more information for you. So it'd be lovely if you could join our Best Self community. And then I just wanted to, oops, I scooted past here. Yeah, I have a number, if you haven't checked out already, I have a number of online courses that I've created over the years. And if you found this Facebook Live helpful, there's a course that you may find that you may really like. It's called Jumpstart Your Success. And it's a 4 module course. Each module takes about an hour to do. So you could do, like 1 module a week or over 4 weeks, or you could literally sit down one afternoon and do it. The course is great because it helps you to get really, really clear on what's working in 8 key areas of your life and what's not working. And it helps you to identify your strengths so that you can use those strengths to then help improve areas in your life that aren't going as well as you would like them to go. And then it also helps you to get really clear on goal setting in again 8 key areas of your life, and also how to set goals. A lot of people think that they know how to set goals, and they actually don't, because it's not like it's something that we're taught, in school or at university or anywhere. So the course is designed to really help you to get really, really clear and get really focused, which is something that we all need, especially right now when things are so overwhelming. And just for full disclosure, actually, uh, I last December when back on here. Yeah. So last December, when I was setting my goals for 2020, I actually took myself through my Jumpstart Your Success course. The exercises and the tools in there are ones that I use all the time. So full disclosure, I practice what I preach, and it was really helpful. For me in setting my goals for 2020, and using some of the tools that are in the Jumpstart Your Success course was really helpful at the end of March when I was having to revisit and revamp some of my goals. So that's great. So thank you so much for joining me. Are there any questions or anything before we wrap this up? Okay, and I'm just going to double check here and just make sure things are streaming the way they're supposed to. Good. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.